There are a couple of things that are relatively heavy lifting, but yet extremely helpful, depending on the stage of your company and where you are in your journey. Consider hiring at least a part-time fractional CISO to give you some guidance, couple of hours each week or a month, to look into the controls, to look into the processes, to help you make sure that your policies are in place and that people are actually adhering to those policies, and that you're not having a blind spot on something that you should be aware of. But since you guys are not security practitioners and you're super busy in building your teams and your solutions, you obviously can't cover everything, and neither do the AI assistants. So you need a practitioner to have a look. It is a heavy lifting because it costs money and it generates processes, but it is something that I recommend to look into. At some point, as I mentioned earlier, compliance and security compliance like ISO, like SOC 2, is becoming a hard gate that without businesses, or at least some businesses and some enterprises, will not even kick off the conversation with you. So that one is a heavy lifting. It, in many cases, costs a lot of money. There are great solutions out in the market today that are doing security compliance automation, and I highly recommend those solutions. But try to figure out by yourself from a business perspective when is the right timing. Ideally, it's much easier to do to achieve the compliance with those security standards as early as possible in the journey. I know that it sounds counterintuitive, but that's the case. As long as the company is smaller with less people, less complexities, less processes, it's much easier to pass through the compliance gates. So think about that when you consider. Lastly, is to establish basic security monitoring and incident response. If you will look at the controls and the recommendations that I gave earlier, you will notice that it means that you need to enable things, and you need to configure your cloud infra, and you need to configure encryption, and you need to configure an anti-malware or an EDR, endpoint detection and response, and to enforce policies. And from my vast experience in this area, when you use security tools, some things happen. They actually sometimes identify threats, they identify risks, they create action items, and unfortunately, they create more work. So with that, I do recommend to establish at least a basic security monitoring. You already probably monitor your environment for uptime and for performance and other things. Try to figure out if you can do that relatively easy.